Judge overseeing Georgia election interference case dismisses some charges against Trump. Trump investigations. Former President Trump faces upwards of 100 felony counts after being indicted 4 times within the last year. He is accused in Georgia and D.C. of plotting to overturn his 2020 election loss. He is accused in Florida of hoarding classified documents, and in Manhattan of falsifying business records stemming from hush money payments made during his 2016 campaign. Here's where all of the cases against Trump stand. The judge overseeing the Georgia 2020 election interference case on Wednesday dismissed some of the charges against former President Donald Trump and others, but the rest of the sweeping racketeering indictment remains intact. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee quashed 6 counts in the indictment, including 3 against Trump, the presumptive 2024 Republican presidential nominee. But the judge left in place other counts, including 10 facing Trump, and said prosecutors could seek a new indictment to try to reinstate the ones he dismissed. The ruling is a blow for Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who already is facing an effort to have her removed from the prosecution over her romantic relationship with a colleague. It's the first time charges in any of Trump's 4 criminal cases have been dismissed, with the judge saying prosecutors failed to provide enough detail about the alleged crime. The sprawling indictment charges Trump and more than a dozen other defendants with violating Georgia's Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, known as RICO. The case uses a statute normally associated with mobsters to accuse the former president, lawyers and other aides of a criminal enterprise to keep him in power after he lost the 2020 election to Democrat Joe Biden. Defense attorneys applauded the ruling, which came after challenges to the indictment from Trump, former New York mayor and current Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and attorneys John Eastman, Ray Smith and Robert Shealy. They have all pleaded not guilty. The ruling is a correct application of the law, as the prosecution failed to make specific allegations of any alleged wrongdoing on those counts, Trump attorney Steve Sato said. The entire prosecution of President Trump is political, constitutes election interference, and should be dismissed. Jeff DeSantis, a spokesperson for Willis, declined to comment other than to say prosecutors were reviewing the ruling. The 6 challenged counts charge the defendants with soliciting public officers to violate their oaths. One count stems from a phone call Trump made to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a fellow Republican, on January 2, 2021, in which Trump urged Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes. Another of the dismissed counts accuses Trump of soliciting then Georgia House Speaker David Ralston to violate his oath of office by calling a special session of the legislature to unlawfully appoint presidential electors. McAfee said the counts did not allege sufficient detail regarding the nature of the violations. The lack of detail concerning an essential legal element is, in the undersigned's opinion, fatal, McAfee wrote. They do not give the defendants enough information to prepare their defenses intelligently. McAfee's order leaves Meadows facing only a RICO charge. Jim Durham, a lawyer for Meadows, declined to comment. The order quashed 3 of 13 counts against Giuliani. There simply was not enough detail to put the defendants on notice of what to defend against, Giuliani's attorney Alan Stockton said, adding that the ruling effectively removes nearly 25% of the charges against his client. McAfee wrote that prosecutors could seek a re-indictment to supplement the 6 dismissed counts. Even if the statute of limitations has expired, the judge gave the state 6 months to resubmit the case to a grand jury. Prosecutors could also ask for permission to appeal the ruling. The case has yet to be scheduled for trial. The ruling comes as McAfee is considering a bid to have Willis disqualified from the case over what defense attorneys say is a conflict of interest due to her romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. McAfee is expected to rule by the end of this week on the disqualification bid, which would throw the most sprawling of the 4 criminal cases against Trump into question. Willis, who has said their relationship ended months ago, has said there is no conflict of interest and no reason to remove her from the case. The nearly 100-page Georgia indictment details dozens of alleged acts by Trump or his allies to undo his defeat, including harassing an election worker who faced false claims of fraud, and attempting to persuade Georgia lawmakers to ignore the will of voters and appoint a new slate of Electoral College electors favorable to Trump. Of the 19 people originally charged in the indictment, 4 have pleaded guilty after reaching deals with prosecutors. They include prominent Trump allies and attorneys Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesebro. The Georgia case covers some of the same ground as the federal case in Washington brought by special counsel Jack Smith that charges Trump with conspiring to overturn his election loss in a desperate bid to stay in power. Trump is charged separately by Smith with hoarding classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate and thwarting government efforts to retrieve them. Trump is scheduled to go to trial later this month in the New York case accusing him of falsifying his company's internal records to hide the true nature of payments to a former lawyer who helped Trump bury negative stories during his 2016 presidential campaign.
All of the major news outlets are carrying this story. ABC News, CBS News, CNN, Fox News, NBC are all carrying the story of Judge McAfee today dismissing several of Trump's charges. But he has yet to rule on if Fani Willis will be dropped from Trump's case.
I want to go straight to Blaine Alexander now in Georgia with some breaking news. Blaine, we wanted to ask you about the election there in Georgia last night, but we just got a filing from the court there in Fulton County. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I've just obtained that filing, and basically what is happening is that Judge Scott McAfee is dismissing several of the charges here in Georgia against former President Donald Trump. 6 of the charges in this order. The charges so far, and I'm still making my way through the judge's ruling right now, but appear to do with solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. Those were certainly some of the charges that he was facing. Other people that were named, of course, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Johnny Eastman, Mark Meadows. And so this is certainly notable because the former president was facing a number of charges, but to have 6 of them removed is notable. Now, it's important to note he's still facing charges here in Georgia, still facing charges in Fulton County. We're also still waiting on a major decision from Judge Scott McAfee as to whether or not Fani Willis can continue to remain prosecutor on this case. This is not that decision. So to see this decision from the judge to come out this morning is a bit of a surprise. I've reached out to Trump's Georgia attorney here, Steve Sadow, who of course has been representing him as the lead attorney, to see if he has any comment. We've also reached out to the DA's office to see if they have any feedback or plan to push back on this ruling by the judge.
As you leave the page, kindly hit the like bell and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so as yet. Thank you for watching.